Hi guys, how y'all doing? Today I'm going to talk about a serious topic. I'm going to talk about Asian Americans and what they've been experiencing recently. A lot of us have been watching the news. I'm sure we are aware of a lot of the hate crimes or the attacks on Asian Americans or Asians in general. I think it's important to just talk about people as opposed to recognizing them by their geographical location. Silence is evidence when hatred screams the loudest. The reason I decided to make this video is because I feel like Asians have always been fighting their own battles by themselves, and they haven't ever gotten any kind of global galvanization, or they have never gotten any kind of global support through the struggles that they've always been experiencing and enduring over the years or throughout history. I feel like they've been fighting their fights by themselves, and we just can't let that happen anymore. There are times where humanity needs to be humanity for humanity's sake, and I think this is one of those times. If you look at a lot of the videos of women being kicked, elderly women being kicked on the head repeatedly or being thrown on the ground to a point where they sustain concussions, it's really, really disturbing. Now, first of all, I want to talk about a couple of things that might interest you, that you might appreciate about the history of Asian Americans, more globally or in America and in South Africa, but I'm going to specifically focus on South African history. Now, Asians in general, whether in South Africa or in America, they've always been a group that sort of falls into that obscure category. And in South Africa, Chinese weren't allowed to study with white people, so they established Chinese schools where they could focus on Chinese children, where children could go and study, and the school would be administered by the government. Now, South Africa is home to the largest population of Chinese people, or the Chinese population in Africa. They immigrated in South Africa as early as the 20th century. In 2008, the South African government recognized Chinese people as colored by racial classification. So therefore, that makes Chinese people to fall under the category of black, which means that they are entitled to certain employment equities or broad-based black economic empowerment programs or benefits. The BBE or Triple BEE was instituted primarily to address the lack of economic distribution of wealth and opportunities that was deprived from black people or those who were marginalized historically, mainly by the apartheid government. So hence, to bring about an equal balance of equal opportunities for all people. In South Africa, black people, that means black as an African, and that means you're Chinese, you're colored. Indians as well fall under that category of black. That constitutes about 80%, over 80% to 90% of the country's population. And much of the country's wealth has been in the hands of white people. This is not different for Asians in most countries. Chinese immigrants were always kind of seen as the lesser of the white man, and people like Bruce Lee went through those struggles. I'm assuming that you already know about Bruce Lee. And if you don't know stories like people like Jeremy Lin, who's an NBA basketball player, there are people who have made videos that explain why his situation and his struggles in the NBA were as a result of racism. And when you follow his story, you realize that racial discrimination and being marginalized and being deprived of certain opportunities in this world has not been a struggle that can always be equated to black and white equation. Asians have always had issues of discriminations in various issues and societal structures. Jeremy Lin recently came out explaining how he was being called coronavirus in the basketball court. Asian hate crimes have increased by 150% as reported since 2020. And it's equally as frustrating when they are not being reported as hate crimes. If it's not a hate crime, then what is it? What causes a person to attack another person if hatred is not driven by it? If discrimination is not a backdrop of hatred. Look, an attack on one is an attack on all of humanity. And this is going on and is perpetually increasing because of, number one, ignorance. Ignorance of nationalities. People don't know the difference between Asians, whether you're Korean, whether you're Japanese, whether you're Chinese, whether you're Indonesian, whether you're Thai or Vietnamese, it's people just see that as Asian. So Asians are going to be attacked one way or the other. Why is Jeremy being referred to as coronavirus? Now, there's one person who's been responsible for that, and that's Donald Trump. And he's been out of the spotlight, which shows you the media's bias and media's hypocrisy when it comes to these things. Just because he's not a president anymore, you don't see him getting a lot of the spotlight, even though he's solemnly responsible for the reason why people associate the coronavirus with Asians and Chinese primarily. But we have heard him refer to the coronavirus as the Chinese virus and the problems that has caused. I don't care if you support Donald Trump or not, but wrong is wrong, period. If you have people that are your friends and they are wrong, you're supposed to correct them because you care about them. This is the area where I just cannot seem to understand why certain individuals can seem to get that. I mean, it's just Donald Trump. He's just a guy. He's wrong about a lot of things, and this is one of the things that he was wrong about. And this has perpetuated created a situation that is stereotypically shadowed Asian Americans or Asians globally with this idea that they're responsible for spreading the coronavirus when it's not. It's not even that. I mean, people who spread it are people who are traveling. If you don't catch the virus from a friend, you catch it from a stranger who's just walking by the street, because that's the world as we know. People travel globally. I mean, come on, I don't have to explain this, but it's ridiculous that we even have to have this discussion. There is no reason to even align what's going on with Asians right now and the pandemic, or coronavirus for that matter. It's stupid and it's demeaning and it's embarrassing because it was originated by a person who feels no shame in degrading other human beings on the basis of how they look, because it's fun for him, or because it appeases to his own discomfort in some way, or lack of respect for human dignity. The conversation is to come back to this, because I don't want to focus on politics this year at all. You stress less. My plea to everybody is we need to give this as much attention as possible. This needs to stop. We need to stop thinking that this is a fight that Chinese people or Asians need to be fighting by themselves, because they don't have to do that. This affects everybody. Over 3,800 people were reported cases. 3,800 cases is one too many. One person is one too many. It affects everybody. Okay, that's 3,800 cases multiplied by all the different people who are connected to the 3,800 people in our communities, in our society, in every way. So that's thousands upon thousands of people who are affected by this. They can't do this by themselves. Whether you use social media platforms to create awareness and fight against this thing, we need to do whatever we can to talk about this and get it out there. It's not about black people, it's not about white people, it's not about this color or that color. It's not about this versus this ethnic group versus this ethnic group. It's about humanity. And we can't allow this to go on while we're being silent about it, because it's somewhat distanced from us. Yes, Black Lives Matter. Right now, Asian lives matter. This does not take away from anybody or any other struggle or any other fight. But this is to remind people that it's about humanity. It's a fight for humanity. Andrew Yang, where you at? A lot of Asians, a lot of celebrities have been coming out to show their support for their people, if you may. It doesn't need to take an Asian to say something about something that's wrong. It takes a human to talk about the hate, the evil that is disguising itself in the form of racism or any form of discrimination for that matter. And it doesn't need a politician for that matter. It needs us, human beings, to just speak up about this and fight about this and raise our voices against this. So let's get this done, guys. All right. To all the Asian folks out there, know that we're fighting with you guys and we're praying with you guys, especially our brothers and sisters in Christ out there. We'll be praying for you. Love and peace, and thank you for watching, guys. If you like the video, do leave a comment. Do support this channel however you can. Thanks for watching.